the long silence. The deception of peace for 80 standard years, the galaxy had known peace. The Terran Accord signed in the aftermath of the border skirmishes had transformed humanity from warriors into wanderers. Earth's fleets were decommissioned, their weapons dismantled, their crews sent home to families they barely remembered. The great shipyards of Luna fell silent. The orbital defense platforms around Mars powered down, their weapons systems gathering cosmic dust. Humanity had become something new. They were teachers now, spreading knowledge across 1,000 worlds. They were healers, building hospitals on planets ravaged by ancient conflicts. They were diplomats, sitting at endless council meetings, smiling patiently while alien ambassadors debated matters that could have been resolved in minutes. The humans never complained. They never raised their voices. They simply nodded and agreed and moved forward with their quiet work. The galaxy watched this transformation with mixed feelings. Some species admired the change. The gentle Peltharians, whose culture valued peace above all else, welcomed humanity into their philosophical circles. The crystalline shard minds, who communicated through light and mathematics, found human restraint refreshing after centuries of dealing with aggressive younger races. But others saw weakness. The Vraxian Collective, a proud warrior culture that had dominated 3 star systems through military might, laughed openly at humanity's transformation. In their great council chambers, Vraxian generals told jokes about the once feared humans who now delivered medical supplies instead of delivering death. The insectoid Kresh, whose hive queens valued strength and conquest, began to probe human territories, testing boundaries that had once been absolute. Even the neutral species, those who prided themselves on objectivity, began to wonder, had humanity truly changed or had they simply forgotten how to fight? The question was whispered in trading posts, debated in academic institutions, and analyzed by military strategists across the galaxy. The consensus slowly formed. Earth was done. The age of human power had ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. The colony ship New Horizon left Earth on a bright morning in October. 50,000 souls aboard, families seeking new lives among the stars. The ship was a marvel of human engineering. 3 kilometers of gleaming hull packed with hydroponic gardens, residential districts, schools, and everything needed to establish a thriving colony on the distant world of Kepler 442b. The journey would take 6 months through established trade routes. The New Horizon sent regular updates, cheerful messages from colonists excited about their future. Children recorded videos for relatives back home. Scientists documented the stellar phenomena they observed. Everything was normal, routine, expected. Then, in the 3rd month, the messages stopped. The New Horizons beacon went dark. Emergency protocols activated automatically across Earth's communication network. Naval Command, dusty and understaffed after decades of peace, scrambled to respond. They sent probe ships, unmanned scouts that could travel faster than any crewed vessel. What they found was nothing. No debris field, no distress buoys, no trace of 50,000 human lives. The New Horizon had simply vanished from existence as completely as if it had never been built. The investigation began immediately. Human ships, the few that remained operational, swept the last known coordinates. They found energy signatures faint but unmistakable. Weapons fire, multiple sources. Advanced plasma cannons of a design that matched Vraxian military specifications. When Earth's diplomats brought this evidence to the Galactic Council, they were met with bureaucratic sympathy and political stonewalling. The Vraxian representative expressed deep regret for the tragic accident. Perhaps the New Horizon had encountered a natural phenomenon, a quantum fluctuation or a rogue asteroid. These things happened in deep space. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. Other council members nodded along. Some offered condolences. A few suggested that humanity should be more careful with their colonial ventures. But no one demanded answers. No one called for justice. The message was clear. 50,000 human lives were not worth disturbing the galactic peace. Earth's ambassador, an elderly woman named Sarah Chen who had spent 40 years in diplomatic service, stood before the council one last time. Her voice was steady, but those who knew her saw the fire in her eyes. She spoke 3 sentences that would be remembered for generations. We came to you in good faith. We showed you evidence of murder. Your silence tells us everything we need to know. She left the chamber. Within hours, Earth recalled every diplomat, every ambassador. every human representative from every alien world. The embassies closed. The cultural exchange programs ended. The hospital ships returned home. And then, Earth went silent. The forgotten arsenal deep in the Kuiper Belt, beyond the orbit of Neptune, beyond the reach of casual sensors, something ancient stirred. Station Sentinel-7 had drifted in the dark for 78 years, its systems in hibernation mode, its crew long since rotated back to Earth. The station was officially listed as decommissioned, a relic of humanity's militant past, but decommissioned was not the same as destroyed. Captain Elena Cross stood on the bridge of Sentinel-7, watching as system after system came online. The lights flickered, then steadied. The air recyclers coughed, then hummed. The gravity generator spun up, pulling her boots firmly to the deck. Cross was 47 years old, a career officer who had spent her entire adult life in a military that officially didn't exist anymore. She was part of the Defense Initiative, a program so classified that even most government officials didn't know about it. While humanity played at peace, a small core of military personnel had maintained their skills, updated their training, and waited. The waiting was over. Cross pulled up the command console and entered her authorization codes. Deep in the station's core, quantum processors began calculating, drawing power from the nuclear reactors that had slept cold for decades. Around her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. These were professionals, every one of them, veterans who had volunteered to spend their careers in the shadows. "Status report," Cross said quietly. Her voice carried the weight of command, even though she hadn't given a combat order in 15 years. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her tactical officer, studied his displays. All primary systems responding. Reactor output at 93% and climbing. Weapons grid powering up. Estimated time to full combat readiness 40 minutes. Communications. Cross turned to the comm station, where Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka sat surrounded by holographic displays. Establishing quantum encrypted links with all Defense Initiative assets, Tanaka reported. "We're receiving acknowledgement signals from Sentinel stations 2 through 12. The Ghost Fleet is waking up, Captain." Cross allowed herself a small smile. The Ghost Fleet. That's what they had called it during the planning stages, back when idealistic politicians were signing peace treaties and dismantling the visible military. But some people had remembered the lessons of history. Some people had understood that predators only respected strength, and that weakness invited attack. While the galaxy watched humanity disarm, a secret program had continued. Ships were built in hidden shipyards carved into asteroids. Weapons were developed in laboratories buried beneath the ice of Europa. Personnel were trained in facilities that officially didn't exist, and all of it was hidden behind layers of classified protocols, waiting for the day when peace would fail. That day had come. Cross pulled up the casualty reports from the New Horizon. 50,000 names scrolled across her screen. Families, children, scientists, artists, dreamers, all dead because the galaxy thought humanity was weak. "Initiate Protocol Nightfall," Cross said. Her voice was calm, but her hands gripped the console edges until her knuckles went white. "Send the message." Tanaka's fingers danced across her controls. Across the solar system, on every inhabited world and station, on every ship and satellite, a single message appeared. It was not addressed to humanity's leaders or military commanders. It was addressed to everyone. The message was simple, just 7 words, but they carried the weight of 80 years of restrained fury. The time for silence is over. The hidden truth on Earth. In a bunker complex beneath the Rocky Mountains, Fleet Admiral James Harrison watched the same message appear on his screens. He was 71 years old, one of the last officers who remembered the border skirmishes, who had fought in actual ship-to-ship combat before the peace accords changed everything. Harrison had spent 40 years preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come, knowing it eventually would. He opened a secure channel to the Planetary Defense Network. "This is Fleet Admiral Harrison. Authorization code Harrison Omega 77 Alpha. Activate all Defense Initiative assets. We are now at DEFCON 1. Across Earth's surface, hidden facilities came to life. Missile silos buried beneath farmland opened their doors. Orbital defense platforms disguised as weather satellites deployed their weapons. The lunar shipyards, supposedly mothballed, lit up with sudden activity. And throughout the solar system, in locations known only to a select few, the Ghost Fleet awakened. Hundreds of ships, each one incorporating 80 years of secret technological advancement, powered up their reactors and began moving into formation. The ships were beautiful in their lethality. Sleek hulls of adaptive armor that could reconfigure based on threats, quantum drives that bent space itself, allowing for instantaneous tactical jumps, weapons that made the old plasma cannons look like toys. These were not the ships of humanity's past. These were the ships of humanity's future, and that future was forged in righteous anger. Captain Cross watched her tactical display as more and more green icons appeared. Each one represented a ship, a station, a weapons platform. The true extent of humanity's hidden strength was finally revealed, and it was staggering. "My God," Webb whispered, staring at the display. "How did we keep this secret for so long?" "Because the galaxy wanted to believe we were harmless," Cross replied. "They wanted to believe that warriors could become pacifists, that predators could become prey. They forgot the most important rule of survival." "What rule?" Cross turned to face her crew, and in her eyes burned the light of cold determination. "Never mistake patience for weakness. Never assume that silence means surrender. And never ever underestimate humanity's capacity for preparation." She pulled up the fleet-wide communication channel. Across the solar system, on hundreds of ships, thousands of personnel stopped what they were doing to listen. "This is Captain Elena Cross of Station Sentinel-7. For 80 years we have waited in the dark. For 80 years we have maintained our watch while the galaxy forgot what we were capable of. They thought our mercy was weakness. They thought our restraint was fear. They were wrong." She paused, letting the words sink in. "The New Horizon is gone. 50,000 of our people are dead. The galaxy expects us to accept this quietly, to bow our heads and accept whatever scraps of justice they choose to offer. But we are not the humans they think we know. We are the humans they should have feared all along. All ships prepare for deployment. All stations full combat readiness. All personnel remember why we do this. We don't fight for conquest. We don't fight for glory. We fight because someone must stand against the darkness and say no more." The channel closed. In the silence that followed, Cross could feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity had tried peace. They had extended their hand in friendship. They had shown mercy to those who would have destroyed them. Now it was time to show their strength. The galaxy had made its choice. Now it would face the consequences. The long silence was ending, and in its place would come a reckoning that the galaxy would never forget. When the sleeping giant wakes, the gathering storm, the Vraxian High Command met in their war chamber on the homeworld of Vraxis Prime. The room was circular, carved from volcanic rock, with viewing screens displaying star maps of known space. General Thorkin, Supreme Commander of the Vraxian military forces, stood at the center, his forearms gesturing aggressively as he addressed the Council of War Leaders. "The humans have gone quiet," Thorkin rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "They withdraw their diplomats. They close their embassies. They hide behind their little blue planet like frightened children. This is our moment." Around the chamber, other Vraxian generals nodded their approval. Their species had built an empire on the principle of strength through conquest. They had watched humanity's transformation into peaceful diplomats with growing contempt. Now, with Earth isolated and silent, opportunity beckoned. "We should strike immediately," growled General Vakros, her scales gleaming under the red light of the chamber. "The humans are weak. Their fleets are dismantled. Their weapons are museum pieces. We can break them in days." But not everyone in the chamber shared their confidence. Ambassador Kelthric, an older Vraxian who had actually fought against humans during the border skirmishes 8 decades ago, rose slowly from his seat. His movements were careful, his eyes cautious. "I remember the humans before they chose peace," Kelthric said quietly. "I remember their warships. I remember watching them destroy a Vraxian battle group in 17 minutes. Has it occurred to anyone here that a species capable of such violence might not simply forget how to fight?" Thorkin laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the stone walls. "You speak of ancient history, old one. The humans of today are not the humans you fought. They have been neutered by their own morality. They are victims waiting to be claimed." Kelthric sat down slowly, but his expression remained troubled. He had survived the border skirmishes by learning to read his enemies, and something about Earth's silence felt wrong. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of something waiting in the dark. Within hours, Thorkin's proposal was approved. The Vraxian collective would assemble a coalition fleet. They reached out to their allies. species who had their own grievances against humanity's economic success, or simply wanted a share of Earth's resources. The Crash Hive, always hungry for new territory, committed 300 ships. The Draven technocracy, eager to claim human technology, sent 200. The Yulari Dominion, nursing old territorial disputes, added another 100. Within 2 weeks, the largest military armada in recent galactic history assembled at the edge of Raxian space. 800 warships representing 4 different species, all united by greed and the certainty that humanity was defenseless. General Thorkin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Worldbreaker, and surveyed his fleet with satisfaction. Each ship was a testament to military power. Plasma cannons capable of melting continents, kinetic weapons that could shatter moons, shield technology that could withstand nuclear detonations. Set course for Earth, Thorkin commanded. Maximum speed. Let us show the galaxy what happens to species who forget their place. The armada jumped to faster-than-light travel. Their destination was clear. Their purpose was certain. Their fate was already sealed, though they did not yet know it. The line is drawn. Captain Elena Cross stood on the bridge of the EDS Prometheus, the flagship of humanity's ghost fleet. The ship was magnificent. 3 kilometers of cutting-edge military engineering that represented everything humanity had learned in 80 years of secret preparation. Its hull was composed of adaptive nanomaterials that could reconfigure based on threats. Its reactors produced more power than entire planetary grids. Its weapons were beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Around the Prometheus, 400 other ships maintained perfect formation. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, each one incorporating technology that would have seemed like magic to the naval commanders of the past. These vessels could perform tactical jumps across thousands of kilometers instantaneously. They could generate gravitational fields strong enough to crush enemy ships. They could strike from angles that conventional physics said were impossible. Enemy fleet detected, announced Lieutenant Webb from the tactical station. 800 contacts, multiple species configurations. They're dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. Cross studied the tactical hologram. The enemy fleet was massive, overwhelming by any conventional measure. But Cross was not concerned. She had spent 15 years training for this moment, running simulations, studying enemy tactics, preparing for the day when humanity would have to defend itself again. All ships, battle formation Omega-3, Cross commanded. Her voice was transmitted across encrypted quantum channels to every vessel in the fleet. Deploy gravity wells. Activate quantum shielding. Prepare displacement weapons. The human fleet shifted smoothly into position. They formed a defensive sphere around Earth's orbital space, a formation that looked deceptively simple, but was actually a complex tactical arrangement designed to maximize their technological advantages. On the Worldbreaker, General Thorkin watched the human fleet appear on his sensors. He counted the ships once, then again, his confidence faltering slightly. Where had these vessels come from? Intelligence reports had assured him that humanity's military was defunct, scattered, harmless. 400 ships, his tactical officer reported. Configuration unknown. They're using some kind of shielding that's interfering with our deep scans. Thorkin's mandibles clicked together in annoyance. 400 ships was more than expected, but still outnumbered by his coalition fleet, and human vessels were old, outdated, built with inferior technology. Open a channel, Thorkin commanded. Let us offer them one chance to surrender. The communication was established. Thorkin's image appeared on every human ship, his 4 arms spread wide in a gesture meant to display dominance. Humans of Earth, Thorkin's voice boomed across the void. You stand before the combined might of 4 galactic powers. You are outnumbered 2-1. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses are pathetic. Surrender now and we will be merciful. Resist and we will burn your world to ash. There was a long pause. Then Captain Cross's face appeared on every screen in the coalition fleet. She looked calm, almost serene, her dark eyes betraying no fear whatsoever. General Thorkin, Cross said softly, you have made 3 critical mistakes today. First, you believed we were weak because we chose peace. Second, you assumed that silence meant we were unprepared. Third, and most importantly, you entered our home system with hostile intent. She leaned forward slightly and her expression hardened into something cold and absolute. This is your only warning. Leave now, or discover exactly what humanity has been building while you were laughing at us. Thorkin's roar of anger shook his bridge. Fire all weapons. Show these arrogant primitives what real military power looks like. The coalition fleet opened fire. 800 ships unleashed a barrage that would have annihilated any conventional defense. Plasma bolts, kinetic slugs, missiles, energy beams, all converging on the human formation in a wave of destruction that lit up space like a newborn star. And then something impossible happened. The weapons simply stopped. 3,000 kilometers from the human fleet, every projectile, every energy beam, every missile froze in space as if hitting an invisible wall. They hung there suspended, their momentum stolen by technology that the coalition forces did not understand. Gravitational manipulation fields, Cross explained calmly, though her broadcast was now one way. We bend space itself. Your weapons cannot reach us because, from their perspective, they are moving away from us while simultaneously moving toward us. Quantum physics is funny that way. She nodded to Webb. Return fire. Displacement Protocol Alpha. The human fleet did not use conventional weapons. Instead, each ship activated devices that looked like simple silver spheres mounted on their hulls. The spheres began to glow with a soft blue light. On the world breaker, alarms suddenly shrieked. Sir, we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations. Energy readings are off the scale. Evasive maneuvers. Thorkin shouted, but it was already too late. The blue light from the human ships intensified, and then reality itself seemed to hiccup. One moment, the coalition fleet was arranged in standard combat formation. The next moment, 50 of their ships simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not vaporized, just gone, as completely as if they had never existed. What happened? Thorkin demanded, his voice cracking with the first hint of fear. Where did they go? His science officer, a young Vraxian named Kelman, stared at his instruments in disbelief. Sir, according to these readings, those ships were displaced through higher dimensional space. They've been moved approximately 15 light-years away from their original position. Their crews are probably still alive, but it will take them weeks to return. Thorkin felt his blood run cold. Humanity had not just advanced their weapons. They had rewritten the rules of warfare itself. This was not technology that was a few years ahead. This was technology that was generations beyond anything the Coalition possessed. The revelation Captain Cross watched the enemy fleet's formation collapse into chaos. Ships scattered, trying to create distance from the human vessels, their tactical coherence destroyed by fear and confusion. She felt no satisfaction, only a grim determination to end this quickly. Displacement weapons proved effective, Webb reported. Enemy fleet morale appears compromised. Good, Cross replied. Now show them what we've really been working on. Activate the Horizon weapons. Across the human fleet, new weapon systems came online. These were not simple displacement devices. These were humanity's masterwork, the culmination of 80 years of theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, and engineering genius pushed to its absolute limit. The Horizon weapons did not fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, they manipulated the fundamental fabric of space-time itself. When activated, they created localized fields where the laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. 20 coalition ships suddenly found themselves in zones where gravity pointed sideways. Their crews were thrown against bulkheads as their artificial gravity systems failed to compensate for the impossible external forces. The ships tumbled helplessly, their weapon systems unable to acquire targets when up and down had lost all meaning. Another group of vessels entered areas where time moved at different rates. From the perspective of their crews, only seconds passed, but to outside observers, those ships seemed to freeze in place, moving in slow motion so extreme that they might as well have been statues. A third wave of effects targeted the Coalition's command ships specifically. The Worldbreaker and its sister vessels found their electronic systems failing, as quantum uncertainty was amplified to macroscopic scales. Circuits existed in multiple states simultaneously. Commands were both sent and not sent. The ship's own computers could no longer determine their own status. General Thorkin watched his fleet disintegrate around him. In less than 10 minutes, without a single ship being destroyed, the Coalition armada had been reduced to scattered, terrified vessels fleeing in every direction. His own ship was barely functional, its systems glitching and failing in ways that should have been impossible. Retreat, he finally roared. All ships, emergency jump. Get us out of this system. But Cross was not finished. Deploy the quantum nets, she commanded. Don't let them leave. The human ships released clouds of what looked like silver dust. The particles spread rapidly through space, forming a lattice of quantum-entangled matter. When coalition ships tried to activate their faster-than-light drives, they found the space around them locked, stabilized, unable to be folded or traversed. They were trapped. 800 ships representing 4 different species, all rendered helpless by a human fleet half their size using technology that seemed like sorcery. Cross opened a channel to the entire coalition fleet. "You came here to conquer us," she said quietly. "You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You thought our restraint was fear. Now you understand the truth." She gestured and new images appeared on every coalition ship's screen. Footage of the New Horizons' final moments captured by automated systems. The attack, the plasma fire, the deliberate calculated murder of 50,000 innocent humans. "We know what you did," Cross continued, her voice like ice. "We know that you destroyed our colony ship. We know that you laughed at our diplomatic protests. We know that you thought there would be no consequences." The coalition forces watched in silence as the evidence of their crime played out before them. Even those who had not been directly involved felt the weight of collective guilt. "Here are your consequences," Cross said. "You will leave our space. You will never return. You will tell the galaxy exactly what happened here today, and you will remember that humanity's mercy is a choice we make, not a weakness you can exploit." She leaned back in her command chair. "Release them. Send them home." The quantum nets dissolved. The horizon weapon effects faded. Slowly, carefully, the coalition ships limped away from Earth's space, their formations broken, their pride shattered, their certainty destroyed. On the world breaker, Ambassador Kelthrick approached General Thorkin. The old warrior looked at the defeated general with something like pity. "I tried to warn you," Kelthrick said softly. "The humans we fought 80 years ago were dangerous. But the humans who chose peace while secretly preparing for war, they are something far more terrifying. They are patient. They are prepared. And they never forget." Thorkin said nothing. He simply watched Earth recede on his view screen, a blue jewel protected by forces he could not comprehend. The New Order. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Every species sent their highest representatives. The chamber was full, tense, fearful. Humanity had not destroyed the coalition fleet, but what they had done was somehow worse. They had made 800 warships completely irrelevant. Ambassador Sarah Chen returned to the council chambers she had abandoned weeks earlier. She walked slowly to the human delegation's seat, her back straight, her expression neutral. The other ambassadors watched her in silence. The council moderator, an ethereal being of pure energy named Luminarch, spoke first. "Ambassador Chen, humanity's display of military power has shocked the entire galaxy. We had believed your species was committed to peace." "We are committed to peace," Chen replied calmly. "We have been for 80 years. But peace does not mean submission. It does not mean accepting injustice. And it certainly does not mean allowing our people to be murdered without response." She stood, her voice carrying across the chamber. "For 8 decades we disarmed in the eyes of the galaxy. We became teachers, healers, diplomats. We showed you our best selves. And how did you respond? With mockery, with contempt, with the murder of 50,000 innocent colonists." The chamber remained silent. Species that had laughed at humanity's transformation now could not meet her eyes. "But here is what you failed to understand," Chen continued. "We did not stop being warriors. We simply chose not to be. There is a difference between being harmless and being peaceful. Harmless means you cannot defend yourself. Peaceful means you choose not to attack." She pulled up holographic displays showing the technical specifications of humanity's new weapons. Not the full details, but enough to make her point. The assembled species stared at mathematics that defied their understanding of physics. "While you were laughing, we were learning," Chen said. "While you were mocking, we were building. While you were assuming we were weak, we were becoming something you could never defeat. Not because we wanted to be warriors, but because we remembered the most important lesson history teaches. Peace is only possible when those who prefer peace are stronger than those who prefer war." Luminarch's light flickered with what might have been embarrassment. "What does humanity want?" "Justice," Chen replied immediately. "The Vraxian Collective will surrender those responsible for the attack on the New Horizon. They will pay reparations to the families of the dead. They will formally apologize before this council." General Thorkin, seated in the Vraxian delegation, rose slowly. He looked diminished somehow, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. When he spoke, his voice carried none of its former arrogance. "The Vraxian collective accepts these terms," he said quietly. "We acted in arrogance and ignorance. We have learned the cost of underestimating humanity." Chen nodded. "Second, this council will establish new protocols for investigating attacks on civilian vessels. No species will ever again be able to murder innocents and hide behind political stonewalling." "Agreed," Luminarch said immediately. Other ambassadors nodded their assent. "Third, and finally," Chen said, her voice softening slightly, "humanity will share some of our defensive technology with the Council. Not our weapons, but our shielding, our medical advances, our agricultural improvements. We will do this because, despite everything, we still believe in cooperation. We still believe in peace." She sat down slowly. "But understand this. We will never again be mistaken for victims. We will never again be seen as easy targets. The galaxy wanted to know what humans are capable of when pushed to our limits. Now you know. We can be your greatest allies or your worst nightmare. The choice, as always, was yours to make." Epilogue. The sleeping giant 6 months later, Captain Elena Cross stood in the observation deck of Station Sentinel-7, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The crisis had passed. The Ghost Fleet had returned to its hidden berths. The Horizon weapons were powered down, secured behind layers of classified protocols. Lieutenant Webb joined her at the viewport. "It feels strange," he said quietly. "We prepared for war for so long. Now it's over before it really began." "That's how it should be," Cross replied. "The best wars are the ones you never have to fight. We showed them our strength. Now hopefully they'll choose peace not because they're kind, but because they're wise." "Do you think it will last?" Webb asked. "The peace, I mean." Cross was quiet for a long moment, watching the clouds swirl over the blue planet that held 8 billion human souls. For a while, she finally said, "Long enough for a new generation to grow up. Long enough for the galaxy to forget again, to become complacent again." She turned to face Webb, and her expression was serious. "And when that day comes, when the galaxy once again mistakes our restraint for weakness, there will be someone standing watch. Someone ready to remind them why humanity should never be underestimated." Webb nodded slowly. The Ghost Fleet," Cross confirmed. "Always hidden. Always ready. Always watching. Because that's what we learned, Lieutenant. Strength without vigilance is temporary. Peace without preparation is fantasy. True security comes from being kind enough to choose mercy, but strong enough that mercy is actually a choice." Below them, Earth continued its eternal rotation, peaceful and beautiful and protected. And in the darkness beyond, in stations and shipyards scattered across the solar system, the Ghost Fleet slept, waiting, ready. A reminder that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their ships or their devastating weapons. It was their patience, their ability to wait decades for the right moment, their willingness to be underestimated while preparing for the inevitable day when mercy would need to be backed by power. The galaxy had learned its lesson. But lessons forgotten are lessons that must be taught again, and when that day came, humanity would be ready. They were always ready, because they remembered what the rest of the galaxy kept forgetting. The sleeping giant was never truly asleep. It was simply waiting for a reason to wake.